There's actually some really big news that's happening right now in Ukraine. It's kind of an ongoing situation, so I'm saying this like fully aware of the fact that the situation may develop and change in the near future, but I think it's pretty important that we get like an early start in this. Okay. So, for those of you who recall, the standing Russian military, though vast, was not prepared to handle Ukraine on their own. And shortly after the invasion of Ukraine, Russia conscripted a large number of its own people, sometimes under less than honest pretenses. In addition to this, the Wagner Private Mercenary Corporation, which is a, let's say, heavily Nazi-ish mercenary group that effectively operates as an arm of the Russian military, they did some recruitment. And in the span of a few months, the Wagner Group went from a few thousand mercenaries to tens of thousands. How? By recruiting directly from Russian prisons. This penal mercenary conscript arrangement is so comically evil and effective, I don't know, orc-like, that it's just grim. It's just 40K shit. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. It is. But it's cartoonish is what it is. Like the idea of how will we invade this neighboring country? We'll have a private Nazi mercenary group recruit a legion of penal soldiers that will under-equip and send into the front lines. It's so much. And Wagner has been on the front lines in Bakhmut, which is a city which has now been reduced into a kind of like city-like homogenate, like kind of a paste that once, you know, the mush that used to be Bakhmut certainly tastes like a city, I imagine, if you sort of like licked it a little bit. I don't know. There's not much there anymore. And Wagner, after an enormous investment of time and money and people, finally took Bakhmut about a month ago. I don't know what they took, like the slurry. They took the slurry that was Bakhmut. But since then, and kind of like ongoing for a couple months now, the leadership of the Wagner Group has been openly antagonistic towards the Russian military, and that has reached kind of a crescendo now, like a big one. Here. Like a big one.
Они били по нам, и это происходило все эти...
That's right, he's speaking Russia. Self-proclaimed Czar Bugosian, who has been attacking the Russian Ministry of Defense for months now, reappeared. Quote, Ukraine has not bombed Donetsk for 8 years, only Russian positions. Right off the bat, the central lie that Russia put forward to justify this invasion is that Ukraine has been perpetuating an ongoing ethnic cleansing of Russian-speaking people in the Donbass. The armed forces of Ukraine were not going to attack Russia with NATO soldiers. The Russian Ministry of Defense is deceiving the public and the president. Rare moment of lucidity from Bugosian. No, this goes back a while. See, Russia is not a very well held together state. So this guy right here, the self-proclaimed Tsar, a Russian oligarch, mercenary chief, close confidant of Russian President Vladimir Putin, controls the Wagner Group, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Now, the narrative here, that photo, it's not a good photo. Listen, this is really important, so I need you guys to, like, pay attention, all right? Russia is controlled by a collection of oligarchs with varying levels of loyalty to Vladimir Putin, the central oligarch. You can think of it as kind of like a more advanced, like, feudal system, or like warlords, basically, because, like, the oligarchs are the central, they're like the spoke of the wheel. And this guy is a large spoke. Now, the Russian Ministry of Defense has been receiving a lot of public and private criticism, leading to, like, people getting replaced or killed within the Ministry of Defense because, again, the invasion of Ukraine has been a shit show. So the whole, like, oh, our official military, they're full of, like, bloated bureaucrats, they are inefficient, they are traitors, and this is being contrasted against the, like, true loyalists who believe like the military has not been fulfilling their obligation to Putin and the public, including this guy. Now, things are a little bit more complicated than that, but the basic gist of it is we're seeing some genuine infighting. And this was followed just a few hours afterwards by a reported armed forces missile attack on Wagner PMC camps. Prigozhin says, "A huge number of our comrades died. We will decide how to respond to this atrocity." Now, this is almost certainly a false flag. In my opinion, my interpretation of this is as follows, okay? And I could be making an ass of myself by guessing, but I really feel like I'm on the money here, at least close to it, okay? Things cannot continue as they are right now with the fight in Ukraine. It is not going well enough. Fascist countries such as Russia need to maintain a certain level of national morale in order to justify their behavior, because the more unhappy the people are, the more they look towards their internal leadership for solutions which cannot be met, and this leads to internal strife, and that leads to problems for the ruling oligarchy. So you have two powerful military factions, the actual Russian Ministry of Defense and the Wagner Group. The Russian Ministry of Defense is being framed as bureaucratic, unloyal, ineffectual, whereas the Wagner Group is being framed as diehard loyalists, like super ultra far right nationalist types, effective, down and dirty. They're willing to do the fighting. So if there was internal strife, and we don't know to what extent Putin is allowing or even aware of or in control of this, but were there internal strife and you were leading the Wagner Group, what would be a good narrative for you to supplant the Russian Ministry of Defense in terms of public support? Well, I think one good way you could do this would be to basically say the Ministry of Defense, not Putin, the Ministry of Defense has been lying. They have been feeding Putin false information. They are traitors. They are bureaucrats who only care about their own power. They have been lying to the people. They have been feeding Putin false information. And now that we have revealed their treachery by pointing out their lie, they are trying to kill us. You understand? You see? This whole invasion of Ukraine was a lie from, literally, the deep state. The Ministry of Defense orchestrated this event to weaken Russia, to trap us in a conflict with Ukraine. But I, the Czar Bugosian, will rescue Russia. I, a true blood loyalist, a faithful soldier of Russia, now see the real enemy, which was within. And they are trying to kill me for my truth-saying. Now, immediately after this purported missile strike, the Russian Ministry of Defense said that the missile strike was a lie, that it was not real, it did not actually happen. Russian Ministry of Defense says all messages and videos posted by Prigozhin claiming the Russian military launched a strike on Prigozhin's Wagner forces, quote, do not correspond to reality and are an informational provocation. So, again, I am reaching a bit because this is just happening and I'm not literally omniscient, but I think that this is an attempt, at least the beginning of an attempt, by the Wagner Group, something that has been fermenting for a while now, an effort to supplant the Ministry of Defense, probably get its top oligarchs killed. He would get an official government position and higher esteem, and this might be a way of saving face in pulling out from Ukraine. Now, that could be like a long-term thing, not like a tomorrow thing, but if you think of it from their perspective, what he's effectively saying here is that the initial pretext for the invasion of Ukraine was completely made up. It was faked. So if his narrative ends up winning, it's pretty difficult to justify from Putin and from the Kremlin's perspective a continual occupation of Ukraine based on this pretext. We're basically seeing an advocacy for isolationist fascism over expansionist fascism. The Ministry of Defense could be the fall guys. Putin's expansionist ambitions were channeled through the Ministry of Defense, and now that those ambitions are failing, the Ministry of Defense plays the fall guy, and the Wagner Group emerges as this kind of radical isolationist, we are the true blood of Russia military faction. in all likelihood, if this pans out, this would mean the death of basically everyone in the upper levels of the Ministry of Defense. Does everything that I've described make sense? I need to be so clear on this that I am not omniscient, and I am extrapolating so far into spaces that I can't see or understand fully, and I'm no expert on this. Though we do have Adam something in chat who could tell me if I'm being a complete idiot. Oh, no, wait, he says I'm on the money. Hell yeah. No, this isn't about Russia falling. This is about consolidation and providing a narrative pretext for withdrawal from Ukraine. So, yeah, Vosh says war is over, noted. Yeah. Vosh makes sense. That worries me. So to be clear, and I can't believe I'm saying this, if this pans out, I think it might be a net good, purely because isolationist fascism is better than expansionist fascism. An end to a war is an end to a war. Obviously, this doesn't mean that Russia wouldn't still be interested in invading Ukraine again in the future. Who knows what wacky shit they could do. But, this kind of internal mix-up, this is exactly what I've been talking about. The best case scenario long-term for Russia is there's enough internal agitation within the oligarchical class that something ends up like sort of breaking or sliding, and it means that the war effort is no longer like narratively justifiable. Now, I'm kind of curious how this would play with Putin himself, because there are two distinct possibilities, and as I see it, there are really only two likely ones. One of which is that Putin is aware of this and wants it to happen because he wants the Ministry of Defense to play the fall guys. He wants them to be the scapegoat so they can lose, they can be killed, executed, whatever. And the whole mess of the war gets blamed on them. The alternative, in my mind, would be that Putin doesn't know which side he would rather work with, primarily because Prigozhin is completely insane. The people who work at the Ministry of Defense are rote bureaucrats, Like, the people who run Russia's military aren't like lunatic, frothing at the mouth fascists. They're ultra-wealthy, ultra-powerful bureaucrat billionaires who squat there and like mismanage their resources, They're not that ideologically driven. Prigozhin is. And I think it's possible, though this would depend on like information that Putin has that I don't, that he could see Prigozhin, who again has been referring to himself as a czar, big think here, that he might be too much of an unstable element to be worth backing, even if he would provide a pretext. You understand what I'm saying? It's very scary. It's very exciting. That's just a joke by the person who posted. No, he's made comments like that before. He's done this like true son of Russia shit. What about the narrative that the occupied Ukrainians want to become Russians? If they go with this and Prigozhin ends up supplanting the Ministry of Defense, then they will drop all of those dialogue points overnight. In an instant, they and every like Russia-backed commentator in the West will go, the dirty, echo sign at the Ministry of Defense were lying to glorious comrade Putin and feeding him false information, such and such. They'll probably do the doublethink thing where at the same time they'll be like, oh, he was lied to, but also there really is an ethnic cleansing of Russian-speaking people. It's not like they've been concerned about lying in the past, that's not new to them. But this is very exciting. I would actually say, and I could be off on this, but I would say this is the largest development of the war that has happened since the repelling of the armored column that was approaching Kyiv. I think this is probably a bigger deal potentially than any like gain of territory that Ukraine has made, because something had to break in the Russian oligarchy eventually. And if this ends up being it, then that could end up being more impactful than any single military victory. Though it's worth noting that the only reason this is happening at all is because of those military victories. If Russia just swooped over Ukraine, there would be no internal agitation. There would be no conflict between the Ministry of Defense and the Wagner Group. So it is because of Ukraine's active resistance that there is this could be like a break in the link. Maybe not. Maybe nothing comes of it. Maybe Prigozhin gets quietly killed and dealt with. Maybe, you know, he changes his mind because he's kind of a lunatic. I don't know. But it's a really, really big deal. Could this escalate into a full-blown civil war? I don't think so, no. If there is any real... If Putin fully backs the Ministry of Defense, then it would be relatively easy to do away with the Wagner Group. Because the Wagner Group does not have anywhere near the people or resources of the Russian Ministry of Defense. If Putin backs the Wagner Group, then it wouldn't be like fighting with the military. It would be more like the Wagner Group gets brought in and hailed as national heroes for their hard work in Ukraine despite the lies of the Ministry of Defense, and then a bunch of Ministry of Defense guys get the chop on a big wooden stage in Moscow. It's one of those two. I don't see any actual, like, meaningful military conflict happening. Unless somebody offs Putin, in which case, whoo-hoo, okay, I don't think that's likely. However, given how tumultuous the situation is, if somebody offs Putin any time in the near future, or if something happens to him, or even if he gets sick and falls ill in his bed, that's bad for Russia. Whoo boy, that's not good. That's not good at all. No, that's not good. Yeah. Unless something truly wild would have to happen, Adam, for like a big coup or like a big event like that. I guess it's not impossible. We won't know if something happened to Putin. That's probably true. We probably wouldn't know. God damn. Sorry, it's just actually a really big deal. Yeah, this is his words, translated. Prigozhin claims that Russian Ministry of Defense carried out a missile strike at Wagner rear camps. Okay.
На Бахмуте, защищая честь России и российской армии, нас подло обманули и пытались лишить возможности защищать свои дома и разогнать ЧВК «Вагнер».
The language here is actually really important. They attempted to deprive us of the ability to defend our homes. Notice how the language he's using here is the Ministry of Defense is compromising our defense of the motherland, not compromising our invasion of Ukraine. You see? The framing here suggests, from his perspective, that the Ministry of Defense is purposefully weakening the motherland. Does Russia just not have good mics? To be fair, he did record this from, like, probably near Bakhmut or something, so who knows.
ЧВК «Вагнер». Мы были готовы пойти на уступки Минобороны.
We were ready to give concessions to Ministry of Defense, give up weapons, and find a solution on how we will be protecting our country further. But these scumbags, they do not go easy. Seeing we're unbroken today, they carry out missile strikes. A huge number of our fighters and brothers in arms have died. We will make a decision on how to respond to this evil doing. The next step is ours. Huge deal. Also, he calls it Bakhmut and not the Russian Artemovsk. Oh, is that true? Does Russia have a different name for Bakhmut? Oh, of course they would. Like with Kiev. I hadn't even considered that. Does he use the Ukrainian name? He says that, doesn't he? He says Bakhmut. Yeah, he does. Ooh. Justice in the army will be restored, and after this, justice for the whole of Russia. Yeah, okay, he's basically announcing that he wants the Ministry of Defense's heads on pikes. Literally. No one resist. Everyone who will try to... He's speaking to the Ministry of Defense soldiers here. We will consider them a danger and destroy them immediately, including any checkpoints on our way, and any aviation we see above our heads. I'm asking everyone to remain calm, do not succumb to provocations, remain in their houses. Ideally, those along the way do not go outside. After we finish what we started, we will return to the front line to protect our motherland. Presidential authority, government, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Rosgvardia, and other departments will continue operating as before. He's explicitly saying we will march and like destroy the Ministry of Defense and then go back. This is some extremely overt coup rhetoric. I may be crossing wires, but this sounds like JQ shit. Oh, this dude's 100% a Nazi, yeah. I'll believe it when I see it. He's bluffed about doing shit in the past. Yeah, it's just so overt. If nothing else, like, a reckoning is coming. We'll see. This is probably because the MOD was forcing all mercenary groups to sign contracts with the Russian MOD and fall under their chain of command. Oh! Well, this makes it even more clear. Yeah, This is literally being done to like rebuke control from the MOD. This is so obvious. I mean, I guess it really just... yeah, the deadline's in 1 week. Wagner Group has refused to sign. Putin backs contract scheme and potential blow to Wagner. I am so curious where Putin sits in all of this, because I feel like this could still be like an actual 4D chess thing. This is such like internal maneuvering thing. Like Putin, you know, is just a loyal servant of the Russian people being fed bad information from the Ministry of Defense. But Putin signals to the Wagner Group, hey, you know, I kind of want a way to back out of all of this. So, you know, maybe those guys at the Ministry of Defense are actually full of shit. You know, maybe they lied to get us into this war. Maybe you take their place. And if you can do it, then and you reveal their crimes, then you end up being the guys in charge of our military. But if you can't do it, if you can't manage that, then you will die or you will fall under their heel. This whole thing may still be staged. Oh, the missile strike is staged. Yeah, no. The whole thing isn't staged. The missile strike is staged as a false flag by the Wagner Group as a pretext for engaging in direct aggression against the Ministry of Defense. What makes you think this whole thing is not a psyop? Because there's literally no benefit to the entire thing being a psyop. For who? For what? The West? The West benefits from like this big play act of the Wagner Group, the largest mercenary group going after the... It doesn't make any sense. The missile strike is a psyop because it benefits the Wagner Group to pretend that the Ministry of Defense is trying to kill them off. Though pretty soon the Ministry of Defense is going to want to kill them off. The fact that he hasn't spoken is intentional. Yeah, no. Yeah, I bet Putin's going to be real quiet. This could develop really quickly. We'll have to see. In my personal opinion, I don't see how any of this could be bad for us. Pardon me for my hubris. It seems like all of this internal conflict is exactly what we've been looking for. Some information is super unconfirmed. Take it as it is. A military collegium is convened on the Pruzhinskaya, that's the Ministry of Defense office. A general meeting has been announced for the central bodies of military control. There are reports units of the National Guard is being armed. Okay, if this is true, then things could go down really quickly. If the Wagner Group, the leader of the Wagner Group is like, hey, you know, the devils at the Ministry of Defense have lied to us. We will go and attack them. They struck us with a missile. And then right after, reports of them holding a general meeting and arming National Guard. So like, oh, dude. Oh, man, this could happen. Oh, I guess we'll see. And Putin's going to stay quiet the entire time. And then he's going to applaud whichever group comes out on top. Because no group is going to storm the Kremlin. It's just going to be like, apparently Wagner has 25,000 soldiers to carry out the coup. Yeah, but that's the reason why they're doing this like psyop shit with the missile strike. Because that's the reason why. It's because the worst Wagner can do is unilaterally withdraw from position and collapse a front somewhere. Yeah. But like, they're trying to win the public battle, right? Like, the goal for the Wagner Group is for, like, the Ministry of Defense guys to be so demoralized and unarmed that they don't even fight back. Like, the Wagner Group just marches up to the Frunzinskaya, like, unopposed. The National Guard guys just don't even raise their rifles. And then they well, it's Russia, so I assume they would, like, I don't know, cut their heads off with a chainsaw or something. How long do they have? I don't know where the Wagner Group is right now. It's not like they can do anything within the next couple of days, right? Like, it takes time to travel, especially if they're going to have to, like, fight their way through checkpoints. How many people does Wagner have? Well, they say they have 25,000, but having 25,000 is not the same as being able to field 25,000 in a direct strike on a single position. Yeah, even if Prigozhin is lying, this is still extremely bad for Russia. Yeah, they pulled out of the front a while ago. Oh, this is so interesting. Does anyone have any information on the current location? Like the right now, at this moment, current location of the Wagner Group? Their last known sighting, or Prigozhin? Prigozhin says it is not a military coup. Yeah, of course he would say that. Yeah, obviously. Also, they're not going after Putin. They're going after the Ministry of Defense. He's not looking to change the government's leadership. He's looking to replace the Ministry of Defense in a way that would offer a narrative pretext for withdrawing from Ukraine and give him political power. Everywhere, it's not like they're one unit in a Warhammer match. Yeah, I'm aware of that, but that doesn't mean they aren't concentrated in general areas. Armies aren't just like thinly dispersed like gas across an open field. They have like camps. Wagner chief said MOD attacking Wagner troops. Yeah, that's the missile. That's fake. That's definitely fake. Wagner in many places. We have no idea where they are. It's called OPSEC. Russia has bad OPSEC. We'll find out eventually. Wagner currently in Zaporizhia region and near Lysychansk as far as we know. Okay, hold on. There's a limit to how quickly they can move over if needed. I mean, if they really genuinely want to make a march in the Ministry of Defense, that means making it through dozens and dozens of checkpoints, many of whom are like controlled by significant numbers of military of defense guys. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Long way to Moscow. They picked a bad time to do this because of the Belgorod insurrection, all that shit. I don't think the Wagner Group wants to continue the fight in Ukraine. I think the leadership of Wagner just wants to use this as a cynical attempt to get on top of the oligarchy, control the Russian Federation, double down on the domestic fascism, and then like not weaken the country further by continuing to engage in this senseless war, which has not benefited Russia in any way, shape, or form. Look for PM or C under RU, order of battle on the left. Okay, okay. So 2 concentrations here in the Zaporizhia. 1 over here. 1 up there. Huh. I mean, it's not like they need a full army to go march in the Ministry of Defense, right? Like, if they had Putin's support, they could get in there with not that many people at all. Okay, but Vosh, wouldn't having Wagner in charge of Putin's administration be really bad for its citizens because they're Nazis? Not sure why you think it'd be an overall W. Because, A, infighting is just good when it's your enemy doing it. And B, the pretext for this infighting seems to be centered on the idea that the Ministry of Defense lied about our pretext for invasion, which implies that they would want to end the invasion or at least curtail it significantly. And that would be good. Putting an end to the war would be good. But post-war, I don't think that Prigozhin as the Ministry of Defense guy would be like meaningfully worsening the lives of Russian civilians. Like, I just think he wants to be super powerful and have a big chair. Like, Putin would still be in charge. Now, the real concern, of course, would be if Putin died or got, ousted himself and then Prigozhin ended up taking his place. That'd be a bit spicy, I'll admit.